Hey friends, welcome back to my podcast. Today's episode is going to be a mid-year update on our New Year's goals. Actually, we're past halfway now through the year. So this is a fun time to do this. I actually asked for podcast idea recommendations on Instagram, and you guys, like many of you said, I wanted to hear an update on your New Year's goals. So I thought this would be a fun one to just revisit. We'll talk about what those goals were, how things have actually changed drastically for our year that we didn't know when we were recording this back in January, and what I have made progress on. So this should be kind of fun. So our theme, Jason and I both had the same theme this year, and sometimes our themes are different. And Jason did join me for that New Year's episode that was like both of us sharing our goals. No, maybe not. Maybe that was just me. And then he joined me for the next one where we were talking about like our family things. I cannot remember now. So, but we did both have the same theme. And our theme this year is double or nothing. So we knew going into this year, even though now this year has looked very different, and we'll talk about that, we knew going into this year, though, that this was going to be a big year for us. We were hoping and praying that we were going to have some big things happening, still some big things to come, still the last quarter of this year. And we kind of knew that this was going to be a high energy, high impact year going into it, if our plans kind of held true as we went into the year. And there are years where, rest might be your theme or your whatever, your word for the year, where you're really taking a step back from things, you're simplifying. This was not that year. This was a year where we were jumping all in going, this is going to be a big year. And in so many ways that has held true, and even truer than we thought. So that's kind of been, that was our goal, double or nothing. Like, we're going big on these things. So let's talk about a few things first. When we recorded this episode I think this released January 2nd, we did know that we were pregnant. So with these goals, a lot of people asked right afterwards, did you know you were pregnant when you set these goals? We did. And that did factor into things. We hadn't announced it yet that we were pregnant, but we knew that we were. And so that kind of did factor into what did I want to work on this year? What were some of my personal goals? And so a lot of my goals were focused on spring and summer, knowing that fall would be more of a chiller time for me, having a baby in August. Now, what we didn't know when we set these goals is that we would be moving out of our house in June. So our plan originally had been that our lease was up in the spring, and originally our landlord had said that we could go month to month. So we wanted to go month to month. Through having the baby, we were going to just stay in the house all summer. So you'll see some of my goals really had to change around gardening because we thought that we were going to be in the house through all of summer and then move in September. However, right when our lease was coming up, I've shared this story, our landlord said, you know what? I really don't want to do month to month because I don't want the house open in the fall. We live in a college town. And so it is more likely you're going to get the house filled before school starts. However, our house was really not a prime candidate for college students. And that did prove true. He had a really hard time filling it. In fact, now as we're about to have the baby, the house is still empty. So we do feel a little bit like you could have let us stay through having the baby, but God really worked it out because we did not want to sign another year lease. We did not want to. Our lease was like, you would have had to pay out the whole contract. It was one of those nightmare ones to break early. And we did not want another year. And so we really started trying to pray about, like, do we find a temporary place to live? But we knew come September, our plan was to get an RV and to be able to be mobile as we start looking for property and things like that. And be able to go do a couple more extended trips. We're not going to be doing full-time travel like we did 2 years ago. But we want to spend a month or two in New England. We'd really like to do Alaska. Like, we've got a few things that we'd really like to do over the next couple of years, and being mobile, especially being able to find the property that we want. And we will most likely be building on that property. So we're going to live in our RV while we build, which, by the way, in an episode soon, we're going to talk about what our homesteading goals are, and property goals and things like that. So look for that. But that's a little backstory of of everything. So we already knew those were going to be our goals. And it's really, God's timing is so good because the week before our landlord told us, you have to sign the new lease within 48 hours that we had to make this decision. He told us our new lease was due in 2 days. So we either had to sign the next year or say that we'll move out in 30 days. The week before that happened, we were talking to our friends and they were really like, yeah, we have this big giant fifth wheel. We really want to get rid of it. We just really want to be able to just kind of be done, get rid of it for a good price. And we were like, well, this RV it's exactly what we're looking for, but like, we're not ready yet until September, October. They're not going to want to hold it all summer. And then the next week we find out this whole thing. And so that's what really spurred on. We weren't planning on moving into the RV before the baby. So Jason kind of negotiated with our landlord and said, hey, we're having a baby this summer. Can you work with us at all? Like, he was originally saying, can we have September? And he was like, no. So finally Jason got it to where we could move out end of June, which was a really big blessing. And so we were able to get the RV, move straight into it. And it has been a little bit of a harder summer. We were planning on being in a house for having the baby, but we have done RV life before, so it's really not a huge adjustment. And this RV is massive compared to our last one. So we all just feel like it's a total upgrade. Everybody calls it the Balmain Mansion. That's what the kids call it, because the RV feels so big. And we have been so thankful. We've been in it now. What have we been in it? A month and a half. That's it. Wow. Feels a lot longer than that. It's been a busy summer. And we are getting ready. By the time this episode goes out, we'll have already had our baby. But as I'm recording this, we're getting ready for baby and all of that. And it's just, God is just good how he worked all of that out. So it was a little bit earlier than we wanted, but like, the details of it have been incredible. Like, we never could have set it up better, but God. And so we're really thankful that we did take that plunge. However, some of these goals were like just no longer relevant with how topsy our year ended up. So with that being said, one of the things that I find people struggle with goals is you set a goal, and well, you can kind of have two different things. So you set a goal, and on one hand, you just like completely forget about it and never do anything with it, right? Like, you're too lackadaisical with it. You don't do anything. On the other side, our problem is you get too locked into it and too stressed out. So I'll tell you, one of my goals was to do a massive garden this year. I was going to like blow my previous garden out of the water, do a massive one, because I knew we would be on the road again, living in an RV, and the next 1 to 3 summers, I wouldn't be able to do gardening. I was going to do a big one. Well, thankfully, I was just getting seeds like out and ready to get started. Hadn't started them yet the week we found out we were going to be moving. And so I didn't do a big, massive garden. And you know what? That's okay. Like, I would have wanted to do a big garden this summer, but God had different plans. And if we get too locked into, well, I made this plan, and then we get all stressed and upset about it when God changes and moves things and does work and move throughout your year. So if you set goals in January, don't just forget about them, try to work on them. But if God also changes the plan and diverts you and puts you in a different direction, then that's okay. So you're going to see some of these goals on my list I've done great on. Some I've done decent and I'm still trying to work on them. That's called progress. And some of them I've not done at all, whether it's because we moved or just they kind of fell off my radar. So I do want to encourage you in that. With goals, it's not about perfection. It's about progress. So with my reading goal, I'll share with you in a minute, I am woefully behind on my reading goal, and it's fine because that's just how this year kind of shaped up. And yet, if I hadn't set a reading goal, I wouldn't have read as much as I did. So yes, I'm not going to hit my reading goal for this year. I don't think there's any way that I will, but I have made a lot more progress on that goal than I otherwise would have. And that's what it's all about. It's about the progress. So let's get into the goals. So I broke down my goals into 6 different categories for this year. Now, I have a lot of goals. If you're brand new to this, and when I was brand new, I definitely suggest you start with setting like 3 or 4 goals total for your whole year. Jason and I do a lot of goal setting, and part of it is we also have a whole category for business goals, which a lot of people don't have, and homeschool goals. But even within some of these goals, some of these are not necessarily goals. They're more habits that we want to cultivate. So I put them in this list because to me, they're a goal, something that I'm shooting for, something that I'm working towards, but really it's more of a habit that we want to cultivate into daily life. So it's not necessarily about tracking your list every single day. Did I hit this every single day? But it's more about, hey, I look back over the last 6 months. Have I incorporated that as a rhythm and a routine in my life? If overall I have, then that goal is a success. It's not about doing it literally every single day. Okay. As I record this, I don't know if you guys can hear this pick up on the microphone, but our 2-year-old is running back and forth. I think you could hear it in the RV. Jason's out there, but he probably doesn't realize that it's making noise. So if you hear a little pitter patter of feet, that is the one thing in an RV that is definitely more noisy is the feet. So he's just running back and forth. He is getting his energy out for nap time though. I will tell you that. All right. So let's dive in with personal goals. Where's my phone? Oh, I'm recording with my phone. I was going to text Jason. Okay. We're just going to deal with the little pitter patter. Okay. So personal goals. First one is my Bible reading goal. Now in past years, I have set kind of more of a bigger reading goal where like I have specific things that I'm reading or specific targets or kind of my Bible reading goal is like a bit more defined. But this year I made my Bible reading goal really, really simple. I just want to read daily. I felt like with my Bible reading goal, I really needed it to be simple this year. I needed it just to be something that wasn't going to get me on a schedule that I felt behind or, where you get behind and then you can't do anything. Like it's just too hard. I needed something that was just going to be really simple. And so I would rate myself like a 75% on this. So for most of this year, I've been really good at this. I was actually for a lot of the beginning of this year, I was getting up early, going to sit outside in the sunlight, first thing in the morning. Sunlight hitting your eyeballs is really helpful. And doing my Bible reading out there. Like that's what I was doing every single morning. And I feel like I was actually in a really good rhythm. Since moving into the RV, and then I had a really bad kidney infection a couple weeks ago. It knocked me out. And then right after we had just moved and all the things, and it has been total hit and miss. I've been trying, like this morning I did read for just a few minutes. And like, I count that as a win right now in this season, but it hasn't been as consistent as I've wanted. And so I'm hoping as we head kind of into the rest of this year that I can kind of regain that momentum of just making it a habit in the morning. And again, it can even just be 5 minutes. It can be reading a proverb or two, but just being in God's word. And I went through a couple weeks where I was doing it at night because it just fit better. I was doing it right before bed, which typically doesn't work that well for me. It means it's not going to happen very, very frequently, but just being in God's word. And so that is one that like I said, I would give it like a 75%. And it's one that I'm going to continue to work on. I really like to be able to do some Bible reading and some prayer, like when I'm nursing, when, everybody else is asleep and I'm up nursing, be able to just open up Proverbs and pray through the Proverbs. So that's something that hopefully, even with having a new baby soon, that'll be something that'll be easier for me to jump back into. My next personal goal was my reading goal. I did set a reading goal this year of 104 books. This is the one I've done the last couple of years, which I've hit a few times. I've barely missed it. This year will be abysmal. And I think last year I didn't do the best. And I was like, this year, 2024, I'm going to do it. But this breaks down to 2 books a week. Now, this is not an undoable goal for me. It is a lot of books, but Jason and I do read a lot. 2 books for me a week, if I'm really reading and being consistent, that's pretty doable for me. I do have to stay on it and work towards it. But this year I'm at like 45 books. So I am like 25 books behind or something where I'm supposed to be right now. My app tracker tells me you're 26 books behind and you're like, gee, thanks. And so I am not going to regain that for sure. I probably will end the year around 60, 65 books, which I kind of think is where I've been the last year or two. So as I head into 2025, I may adjust my reading goal down. Might be more like 1.5 books a week because my current pace is just not up to 104. And that's fine with how this year has been. Since we moved into the RV, Jason and I have been watching a show at night, which we are not super big TV watchers. We do prefer to read at night. That's one people are like, how do you read so much? I'm like, we read instead of watch TV. We just really enjoy reading, but I have been so exhausted, so hot, so just tired by the evening that if I try to read, I'm going to fall asleep at 8 o'clock. And so we've just been watching at night a lot more, which is one reason why I'm even farther behind now. And that's okay. That's just what this season needs to be. I do tend to read a lot when I'm nursing. So we'll see if I kind of close the gap a little bit, but super behind on that one. But at the same time, like 45 books read for the year, I'm 100% okay with that. Like that's a ton of books. I'm fine. I'm happy with that. Okay. Next personal goal is my health goal. Now this was this was not a super defined goal. So normally when you're setting goals, you really want to make it specific. So your reading goal, you don't want to just say, I want to read more this year. Well, what does that mean? Like, what is that? How do you quantify that? How do you actually know that you're making progress on it? And, so typically you don't want to just say, I want to read more. I want to read 1 book a month. I want to read 2 books a month. I want to read 24 books in the year. You want to set it more specific. However, when we did this episode, I was newly pregnant and I knew that. So my health goal this year was just to double my fitness. That was my vague goal. But for me, this was much more about forming a habit around fitness. And this is something that I had really heavily started in the 6 months before getting pregnant. In fact, that was one of my motivators, was to really try to get my body in better shape for pregnancy, which I did so much work on my pelvic floor. And, I'm so thankful. Like it has made a tremendous difference in this pregnancy already. And I was nowhere near where I wanted to be, but just even that fitness that I had done. So I knew getting pregnant, like fitness is not my strong suit. I'm not great at exercising and working out. It's not a passion of mine. It's never been. In high school, it made us run a mile and I thought I was going to die 1,000 deaths. Like it's not my area, but I had really gotten into some really good routines and I really wanted to bring that into pregnancy. And so first trimester was rough with morning sickness and fatigue, but I was doing my stretches every single day. And about 3 days a week, I was doing a first trimester, like fitness, carried that into second trimester. So like, I wasn't some crazy fitness guru during pregnancy, but I was doing so well. And I was even doing stretches and everything up through the move till that final week. And then I've been doing my stretches like half the time. I have this like 15-minute daily mobility like exercise. It's not just stretches. It's kind of I don't know. Well, it's mobility. Anyway, so been doing that kind of on and off this last month, but it's been like today's going to be 106. Your RV just cannot keep up in 106. Like it's going to get above 85 in here by this afternoon, which is why I'm recording first thing in the morning. Recording's been tough in the RV with it so hot because I have to have the door shut. I don't have the AC going on. It's like, it's a little rough. But the fitness hasn't been there quite as much. However, for the first time ever, I am facing newbornhood very soon. And for the first time in my entire life, out of 8 babies, I am actually really looking forward to getting back into shape. I am ready, not right away. I'm having a C-section, friends. I am not going to be like day 3 doing some crazy exercise video. I am ready though to start working on my core, my pelvic floor. Like as soon as I can, I'm actually like, bring it on, because now I've seen how much that actually like can have an effect. And so I totally count my health goals so far this year as being like 100% on target. Like, even though I haven't been perfect, it hasn't been every single day. I have done so much more in this pregnancy, and I'm so much more motivated than I've ever been, that I feel like that's all I wanted out of my health goal. So I am excited to see in the fall, and as we head into winter, how I'm able to kind of jump back in, again, not with crazy fitness, but really slowly just working on things that make a big difference. All right, now these next two, my next 2 personal goals, 100% abysmal failure. Grow a massive garden. And I had some canning goals. So I wanted to grow like the most tomatoes I've ever done, can a ton of tomatoes. Like I had all these goals. And obviously with moving, we didn't do a garden at all. 0 garden, 0 canning. And I could have done a little bit more canning, but then we don't have the room here in the RV. So those are 2 that I just had to let go. Our year changed, and those goals changed with it. So once we're back in the house, I will have lots of gardening and canning goals for you. All right, next category is household goals. Some of these I did wonderfully. So getting back to a strict grocery budget was my number one household goal. We really needed to crack back down. We have a very strict $1,000 grocery budget, which to some people sounds so high. But really for a family of 9, almost 10, maybe 10 people, that's a very, very, very low grocery budget. In fact, it is like when you look at the USDA budget guidelines, we're below the thrifty plan for that. And I mean, a huge part of that is because we cook from scratch. But we had really just I wasn't meal planning well. I just had gotten really sloppy and our grocery budget was just creeping up because we were buying a lot more convenience items. And so we really wanted to get that back down. And I would say we've done really good at that this year. I've had to change certain things I buy. We're not buying a lot of things organic now. There's things that we've had to really just pare down to fit that. One day, Lord willing, I would love to increase that grocery budget. I don't think the goal with a grocery budget is just to get as low as you possibly can. I think if God has given you the means and you're able to have a $3,000 grocery budget, praise the Lord. I think that's wonderful. I think we should be investing in our food. But where we are right now, we are on super money saving mode. And so we have a very, very strict grocery budget. And I really just needed to get back into better meal planning. And I would say this is one that I've done actually very well this year. I have stuck with that well. One that I just never, ever got to was I was going to can a bunch of our meat from the freezer. So we had a bunch of meat left over from our cow. I knew that by September, October, we'd be moving. So I really wanted to clean that out. We wanted to sell the freezer, which we did, and can a lot of that meat. And I just kept wanting to get to it, and being sick. And then we did have, we had my grandmother's funeral in February that we ended up having to go to. And then a funeral for my sister's baby in May. And then we moved in June. So it's just and we had to go to Pennsylvania for the one, California for the other. So it was just crazy things this whole spring. And so this is one that I just kept wanting to get to and I never did. So there was at the end, we did give some meat that was still in that freezer to our friends and put as much as we could in the RV and then sold the freezer. And that is one that I didn't get to, and it's okay. I wanted to, and it didn't happen. Next one for household goals, which is kind of personal goals. Some of these kind of blend together, was working on my quilting projects. And I count this as household goals because a lot of the quilting projects were for other people. So I have my dinosaur quilt that I had wanted to get done before now, but it is a much more involved quilt than, I knew it was going to be a hard quilt, but it was a lot. For my son, Maverick, who's 4 years old, he is obsessed with dinosaurs. And so that one, every piece of it is cut out. And I just need to do the work of sewing it together, which I think the cutting out is going to take way longer than the actual sewing will. And then I kind of had put that project on hold because I started a quilt for the RV with our color palette in the RV. And I really wanted to get that done before we moved in. But June ended up being the most insane month I've ever lived through in my entire life, literally. And it's that quilt is 85% done. So that one and the dinosaur one, I'm really hoping to still finish up this year. Give myself maybe a month or so after the baby's born, and I'd like to kind of start getting my quilting stuff out. So that is the one thing I did bring into the RV was my sewing machine and my quilting stuff. And I would say I've done pretty well on this goal, but we'll see through the end of the year if I kind of wrap up a couple of those. Now, on my goals list for this year was to learn punch needle. I really want to learn punch needle embroidery. However, it is not a cheap skill to get into. So I have actually put punch needle on the back burner. Because I really still want to learn it, but I don't have the startup costs for it right now. And so it's just too expensive and I have other things to work on. So what I've actually been doing is working on learning crochet. I have not made very much progress. I am very much at the baby stage. And I've just been kind of playing with it here and there, kind of afraid to really jump in with a pattern because I feel like I need to practice more. And I'm to the point where I bought a pattern that I really want to make, these really cool granny squares, and I have the yarn for it. And so I'm gonna jump in. I really wanted something little that I could work on after having the baby, that I could just kind of have in my lap, because I'm not gonna be quilting for a little while. And so I am hoping in the next couple of months to kind of make some progress on that. So I kind of swapped that one out. I still would love to learn punch needle, but that's gonna have to wait for a future season. All right, and then the last goal, we did do this, was reorganize and declutter the whole house. So I made this goal in January, knowing that we were going to be having a baby and then we were going to be moving shortly after. So my original goal was to get everything kind of reorganized, decluttered, so that all of that would go a lot smoother, especially moving then with a newborn. And then our timeline got moved up. And so all of that kind of reorganizing that I had done previously before that was great, because it all needed to happen anyway. So we did do that one, and we accomplished that one, and then we moved out. Okay, next category, homeschool goals. This one's super simple. This was more rhythms, routines. We wanted to finish all of our current subjects by summer to wrap up that year. We are very much year-round homeschoolers. We take off time when it makes sense. And so we really wanted to get everything kind of wrapped up so that we could start next year's subjects early in the summer before baby was born. And so we hit that. We did end up taking pretty much all of June, half of May off from school. And with traveling to California and then getting home and moving 3 weeks later, it was crazy. And so we did then July 2nd, once we were in the RV, we started this year's subjects. And so we got a good 5.5, 6 weeks in of new subjects for the year, which is wonderful, because we'll be taking time off again now after baby's born, which is the beauty and flexibility of homeschooling. So we really hit that. And then we already have, we have all of this next year planned out. We have all our curriculum. We have all that, which I had done in March. And it felt early, but I also felt like this summer was going to be crazy. And I'm so glad that I did that early. I ordered all of our curriculum. I did everything in March, had the whole year planned out. And I am so thankful to March Jami that I did that. So we're all set for homeschooling this year. We've already jumped in with subjects. The kids will still do some stuff while their kids are old enough now that during my kind of maternity break where we're not doing full school, the older kids will all still do their math every day, their reading. Like, they've got their subjects that they can just handle on their own, that they'll just kind of continue working on. And then we'll probably start back in with some read alouds, and we'll kind of just slowly start to add some more stuff back in the next few weeks as we feel capable. All right, family goals. We've done pretty good on these. So one of our family goals was family worship 5 nights a week. I would say we're probably averaging 3 nights a week at this point. Earlier in the year, we were doing 5 nights. Again, this to us is not a super strict. I don't think you need to have family worship as the super strict thing. It's just that we really want to make it a rhythm and routine on our weeknights. That's what we want to have. Family worship before bed, where we all gather together. Doesn't have to be long, doesn't have to be hard or crazy, but sing some psalms together, sing some hymns. Jason will do whatever kind of study he's doing with the kids and with everybody, and then we pray and go to bed. So super simple, easy. And in the last 2 weeks or so, Jason has been better at really kind of working on bringing that back in after craziness of moving. So again, I'd say we're 75% on this one, and then hopefully working on that in the fall as well. All right, this one we've been hit or miss on. Family goals is rotating kids' date night. So once a month, we're supposed to have a special date night with one child. So if you start with the oldest, let's say August is supposed to be Mom and Micah. Then September would be Dad and Malachi. And then the next month would be me and the next child. And they rotate so that each kid gets a really special one-on-one date with me and Jason throughout the year. So then when we've gone through all of the 6 kids, the 7th, the 2-year-old doesn't get special dates yet. He always goes to the store with Dad. Every time Dad's going to Home Depot, so he gets special dates all the time. But then we would go back, so then when it's Micah's turn again, it would be Dad and Micah, and me and Malachi. And so this has worked out really well. We've been doing this for several years, but we're not super consistent at making it happen every single month. It's more oh yeah, we haven't done that in 4 months. Okay, we'll do that this month. And so that's one that we will continue working on. That has been, it's been good, and it's been hit or miss. And so working on it. Another one that has become in our last couple of years, one of our family's favorite rhythms is our Saturday night special kind of Sabbath dinner. We make Saturday night kind of a big deal. Heading into the Lord's Day the next day, we do homemade pizza night, and that's when the kids have soda, which we buy. We love Zevia, which is like a stevia sweetened soda, and the kids can have a Zevia on Saturday nights with our pizza, and it's, you know, a big deal. And we do board games. So we've done really good at it this year, and we've done game night a couple of times since being in the RV. We did try to do pizza night almost every single Saturday night since we've been here, but it's been a floopy summer. So that's one that we will definitely pick back up again after we're kind of through the immediate postpartum. All right, then on our list, we also had family goals of visit our North Carolina family and visit our California family. And we did do both of those. On our way home from the funeral in Pennsylvania, we swung by North Carolina, visited Jason's parents, and then we did that California trip, which we knew we would be going out for the funeral. Even in January, we knew we'd be going out for the funeral at that point. And so we did do both of those. And then, okay, last category is our business goals. So we had 3 big business goals here. Launch our big new website. This goal actually kind of morphed. So we're actually still in the works of relaunching our website, redoing everything. We got about halfway through, and then this new thing landed in our laps, that wasn't even on our radar January 2nd. And that was to launch our own app. And that just completely took over everything, which was amazing in the best possible way. So the website redo got put on hold while we have been launching. We launched a new app in the middle of March, and it's been absolutely amazing. It's our Joyful Home app. And that has just taken up all of our time. And so we did accomplish that, though. I mean, we launched a new website. It just wasn't what we originally thought we were going to be working on. So that will definitely be on our radar for the next 6 months or so, is to actually finish up our whole website relaunch, which now doesn't feel as important with the app, but it is. It'll make some really good changes. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully we will still accomplish that this year. If not, maybe early 2025. I wanted to make progress on my new book project. I have a book in mind that I have been working on, and I've had no plans of when it's going to launch. I've had no release. I just want this to be a book project that I have been working on, putting energy into, and most importantly, doing a lot of research for. And I have been reading books and kind of doing the progress that I wanted to on that, writing notes as I go. Still not super far into that project, but I've made progress, and that's all I wanted for that. Oops, my light just turned off. And then my last goal was to write a cookbook on sourdough to be able to release in our Christmas shop. That is a work in progress still. So people keep asking, are you going to have your sourdough cookbook? And the answer is, Lord willing. I would really like the sourdough cookbook to be able to be released by Christmas, but I'm also don't want to rush. This is such a big, important book that I'm not going to rush this cookbook and not have it be what it needs to be for the Christmas shop launch. So a lot of it just depends on my recovery, on how baby's doing, and we'll see. I'm really hoping to have that cookbook out by Christmas. But like I said, it all depends. We've been working on it. We are making progress, but I don't know. This one has been a harder one because sourdough builds so much on itself. So there's so much recipe testing and there's so much tweaking and playing with. Whereas in my other cookbooks, all the recipes are completely different from each other. So it's easy when I have a recipe that's just not quite coming out, that just to ditch it and say, never mind, I'll work on that later, and pull other recipes in. Like, it's a lot easier, and I can just kind of be like, oh, that sounds good to make today. The sourdough is much more methodical. And so it's been, in some ways, it's been a much harder cookbook to write than the 4 others that we have. So we're working on that. Now we did actually sneak another cookbook into this year. My Real Food slow cooker cookbook is coming out in September. So if you have not pre-ordered that yet, you can go to findingjoybookstore.com. This is a cookbook I actually started last fall, and I just had not made enough progress on it to get it launched in the fall. And then it kind of felt like I missed the right time for it. Slow cooker cookbook in spring is just not quite the right time of year for that. And so we just kind of put it on the back burner, and we decided this summer I decided if I could really make progress on this, maybe I could get all of my work done for it before the baby comes, which is the only way we can get this done. And if so, we can launch it, because then Jason can do all the shipping and the fulfilling and all of that after the baby's born. He'll be jumping back to work. And we were able to do that. So we have my Real Food Slow Cooker Favorites cookbook. This is my 4th cookbook. It's all about real food in the slow cooker. What started with a really fun idea has turned into like one of my favorite cookbooks ever. It is amazing. So, and we kind of snuck that one in. So we do have that one launching now. And then Lord willing, we'll have that sourdough one done. We'll see. That's what I'm saying. People keep asking, and I'm saying I'm very hopeful, but I am not promising. And if not the Christmas launch, we will just launch it as soon as it's ready. So if it doesn't come out in Christmas, I mean, probably January, February, like this will be a launch that is coming soon. That is pretty soon. Doesn't feel like it now, but that is soon. All right. So those kind of our updates on our New Year goals. Hopefully that was interesting. This is our double or nothing year, which, man, everything we've done, I mean, with launching our app, I mean, there's so much in this year that was not even on our radar January 2nd when we wrote these goals. So God has really shifted some of our plans. We've pivoted in a lot of ways. It's been a hard year in many ways. Really difficult year. And yet so many blessings. And so as we look forward now to having our baby, which we will already have had by the time you guys listen to this, where I'm ready for the next season. This whole first part of this year was absolutely consumed with launching the app, making the trips for the funerals, and moving. And and then getting this RV set up. I mean, if you're watching on YouTube, I mean, we've painted, we've wallpapered, we had to fix, there was like 20 leaks in this RV. There were so many things, which we knew, buying a fixer-upper. And so this year has just been absolutely consumed. And it felt like this whole time that we've got this countdown to baby coming. And then the second part of our year, the last part of our year is going to be different. And we're there now. We are there. We're facing it. And I'm really excited to meet baby. And then just have like the rest of this year is going to be in so many ways, even with a newborn, so much more simple and calm. And Jason and I are both just like, we're ready. We're ready for this to come on. I'm nervous for the C-section, but we're ready for this next step. And we'll continue working on these goals and kind of see how the rest of our year shapes up. So we'll do an end of the year goal thing, I'm sure, as we're launching goals for 2025. I don't even know what our goals for next year are going to look like. That is completely in development still. So you can tune in 6 months and no, not even that. It's already August, whatever, 4 months, and tune in with us and see what next year is going to look like. So that is what I've got for you today. I just want to encourage you guys, if your goals are not looking like you thought they would, if God has completely shifted and pivoted your year, pivot with it. And, recognize that God has better plans than we do. God is in control. God knows. So trust him. Throw out plans that no longer are relevant and don't have guilt about it. Throw them out and work on what the Lord is putting in front of you today. All right, ladies. Well, thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you guys back here next week for the next episode.